This is a very exciting day for me today because I got myself a brand new canner. Now, I know it's not a fancy canner, and probably most of you have had one of these for years and years because it's the most popular one. But I've never had a Presto, and I've never had a canner with the dial gauge, the pressure gauge. I've had a t-fal brand that's made in Canada. It was the only one I could find many years ago, before Amazon, before anything, and it never had the pressure gauge. And it broke months ago. The weight on it fell apart. I can buy a replacement weight for a third of the price of buying a new canner. And then I'd have to take apart the back part of the lid to put the new weight in. And then I think I would never feel comfortable knowing I was getting the right pressure again. Anyway, I got a really good deal on this, and I thought I want a pressure gauge because I'm tired of listening to that. And, you're supposed to get between 1 and 3 jiggles per hour, and I'm never sure. So after many years of canning, I treated myself to this Presto. So I know in the States it's the most popular one. In Canada, we don't have, or I guess I should say Quebec, I don't know about the rest of Canada. We don't have like stores like Walmart or Tractor Supply or any of those stores. We don't have almost stores where you can buy like canning supplies and stuff. So I got this at walmart.com in the States, at the Walmart I go to in Malone, New York, but I did it online and they shipped it to my P.O. box, which is like 6 minutes from my house over the border. And I paid, I think it was 119 US, which came to 162.60 US. Now, if I bought the same thing on Amazon Canada, it was $222 plus the tax. So if I did checkout, it would have been $256.21. So by buying this the way I did, I saved myself $93.61. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. And I do have a bigger canner that can fit the two stacks of pints. And this is a mirror, and it works okay. I've always had trouble with the gasket. I have to oil it or like grease it up just a precise way. Otherwise, I get a lot of like dripping, but I don't use it that often because rarely I can something that I need 2 rows of pints. The only 2 things I can think of is when I make homemade baked beans, and maybe like corn when I'm doing it off the cob, because I do most of my canning in quartz, so obviously I can't do 2 layers of quartz. So this would be my canner that I use most of the time. This I got off Facebook Marketplace for like $25 or $30, so it was a bargain. And for the bit of time that I use it, it's still worth it. And obviously I have my water bath canner that I use, and the t-fal one that I have that's this size. I'll still keep the pot and the lid because I can still use it as a water bath canner. I could use it as a stock pot for many things or whatever. So it'll still have a life. It'll still be used for things, but not for the purpose it was supposed to be. So I haven't opened it yet. We picked it up a couple of days ago, and I've been wanting to get into it, but things have been busy. This time of year on the homestead, how things get with the garden, and I have so many things to can. So for me, this is exciting because I have never ever had one of these before. And I'm kind of nervous because I've never used a dial gauge. So we're going to do it together. And y'all can tell me if I'm doing things right or wrong. And plus, this was recommended. I have a glass top, the ceramic top stove, and this one said you could use it on that type of stove. So there was one, the Presto one, that was even cheaper without the dial gauge, but I really wanted that. In my dream world, I would love to have the electric pressure canner, the bigger one, the 12 quart one, but that's not in the budget right now. And we're going to work with what we have. This is what I'm used to anyway. And that's what I'll look forward to one day. Oh, it's so shiny and pretty. Now that won't last long. We have hard water, and even though we have a water softener, we still, oh my gosh, look how shiny. Here's the gauge. Looks like a compass. And the jiggler. I don't know what you call it. I call it a jiggler. The instructions. And I have the, oh my gosh, look how nice the rack is. When you have a dull, really worked in canner, you know it's used a lot. Oh, it does have the water lines. I always see everybody on YouTube saying, oh, I fill it to the line. Well, on both my t-fal and the Miro, they never ever had a water line. I have to keep it written in my book because I never remember anything. I have to remember one of them takes 3 quarts to fill. One of them takes 2.5, depending on how many jars you're putting in, etc. So this is really cool. It does have the line. And, oh my gosh, kind of don't want to have to use it. Oh, so nice. So this thing goes in the middle. Before I get it going, I'll have Frank give it a double check. Even though I'm the one that's putting it together, I'll have him give it a go over just to make sure everything's nice and tight. Yeah, I don't think I put that washer in the right place. And guessing the jiggler goes on there. Isn't she pretty? I am so happy. And I'll show you why this is going to get used so quickly right away. Because beans and beans. This is a mountain of green beans, and this is a smaller mountain of green beans. And I have green beans in the fridge, and I have green beans still to pick in the garden. We are blessed with green beans, and I've been picking, but A, I was waiting for the canner. B, I know I could have used the other one, but I wanted to wait for this one. And I wasn't feeling well. If I'm picking, that's about all I can do. I can't can on the same day. And at the beginning of in the spring when I was planting all the seeds, we had problems with the skunk digging up the seeds. Some of the chickens got up. And then I got paranoid that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have any beans. So I kept reseeding. Well, eventually everything germinated and I have way more bean plants than I need. So we're going to have a really good bumper crop of beans, and I'll can what I need. And I still, every year I end up giving some away because we fresh or canned, because we have more than enough for us, and I'm happy to do that. So what I'm going to do is, these haven't been, when I pick my produce and I put it in the fridge, I don't wash it beforehand or anything. I keep it in its state. I find it stays better that way. So I'm going to wash everything up. Frank's going to come help me to, I'm not even going to snap them. That's going to take forever. I'm going to take like a whole bunch at one time and just cut them on the cutting board. And he's going to help me do this to make the process go a little bit faster. He'll check if my quick assembly job on the pressure canner's okay. And the other reason I brought you along to do the green beans, and now I can't find where I put it. Here it is. I'm trying something new this year. I saw Ruth Ann Zimmerman with Homesteading with the Zimmermans on her Instagram account. When she does her green beans and she cans them, she puts zinc in her, it's a natural, vitamin, immune health. She puts zinc in with her green beans, and it keeps them in their beautiful green color, because you know what happens with beans, they turn like that dull green. I usually dry can my beans because it keeps them a better texture, but I'm going to do at least the first batch. I'm going to try with the zinc. I'll have to use the hot pack method with water because it has to dissolve the tablet. And I'm going to see if they come out nice, because who doesn't like pretty green beans on their pantry shelf? So I'm going to try that for the first, I can fit 7 jars in the canner. I'll try that for the first 7 to see if it works. Like I said, she uses, I'm going to come show you closer. She uses the Now brand. I'm going to use this because that's what I found. And I got the same one that says Immune Health. Sorry, I had to walk around. So that was the other reason I wanted to bring you along, because I know everybody has seen everybody can green beans, but I'll just do it quickly through the process. It was more to show you the pressure canner and how it's going to look if I put the zinc in with the green beans while I can them. So we'll get going on these. I'll get Frank to check the pressure canner, and I'll meet you back here in no time. Well, that wasn't too bad. It just took us just over half an hour to do all those beans. So they're cut, they're clean. I have my jars soaking in hot water. I got the canner set up. My husband double checked everything with me. We washed it out. We went through the directions and cleaned off the manufacturer's, not glue, lubrication and stuff. It said to use a bit of vegetable oil. I found once you lock the lid, it was really, really difficult to unlock it. So I've put a bit of vegetable oil, and it's a bit easier, but I imagine in time it'll loosen up a bit. Let me know if that's the case, or I'll add more oil because it's really hard to open it once it's locked. If you guys can tell me that, it's like all brand new to me. And I put the right amount of water in. The water's hot in the canner. I have the kettle on because I have to put hot water in the jars to dissolve the zinc tablets. So we're all set to go. So I'm going to leave 1 inch of headspace, and I'm going to pack them as tight as I possibly can because they're going to shrink when they cook. And I'm going to get as much in as I can. And I'm also going to put about half a teaspoon of, oh, that one didn't get cut, half a teaspoon of salt. That's totally optional. That's just the way that I like to do it with my vegetables. So these beans that I'm canning right now, I have two varieties. I have Provider and Strike. And mainly for fresh eating, I grow Canter. I mentioned it a couple of my garden videos. I got them at Baker Creek last year, and I tried them for the first time. And I wouldn't use them for canning because they're so tender and they don't grow very big, but by gosh, they're absolutely delicious for fresh eating. They're so good. So these ones I find they taste good, but they hold up to canning very well because they're a good solid bean. So I'm going to keep squishing some in here. Sorry, probably can't even see that. I'll bring you in closer for the next one. So, I don't know. I think I've squished that pretty good. So I'm going to I'm using pickling salt. You can use kosher, whatever, just don't use table salt. Half a teaspoon. Now this is 50 milligrams of the zinc, and I saw that she put in 2 tablets for a quart jar. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got to get the kettle. Wow, that took a lot of liquid. Okay. And I'm just using a chopstick. I find for things like this, when there's so many wee bits and pieces, a chopstick works really well. I can get into every nook and cranny. Get all the air bubbles out. And that looks pretty good. I might just add a touch of water. Clean off my lid. I forgot to tell me to put my apron on. I have the lubricating oil from the canner on my top. I have water. I just spilt the vinegar on me before I turned the camera back on. So I said, what's the point now? So a new lid, new ring, hot, 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 fingertip tight. And I'll put it aside. I'll bring you in close for the next jar, and then I'll fill them all up and we'll put them in the canner. I guess I should be using my funnel. It's right here and I'm not even using it. Oh. And these beans were picked over, I think just over 2 days, as I try and can them as fresh as possible. I don't want them sitting around in the fridge. I could buy them in a store if I wanted them to be sitting around for a long time. So they haven't been, I picked more than half of them yesterday, and the other ones were from the day before, but I just was not feeling up to canning, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. Oh, squish them in there. And the food preservation is just beginning, and I love every second of it, but sometimes it's a wee bit overwhelming. I have the dehydrator going. I'm going to be canning. I'll show you, at the end, I have a huge bowl of zucchini that I've got to deal with. And I mean deal with as in, what a blessing. I have all this to worry about. All right, so I'm putting in 2 of the zinc tablets, hot water, 2 1-inch headspace. Then I'm going to debubble. I tried some of my green beans last year for the very first time. I tried freezing some just to see. I like to have different options to preserve it. And I didn't like at all the texture of the beans. The flavor was good, but I found they had like a rubbery texture to them, and I didn't like it at all. They stayed nice and green. I blanched them first. I did everything. I have that freeze fresh book. I followed the directions, but oh my gosh, I found they had such a rubbery consistency. Oops, that's probably a little bit over, but all right, so cleaning my lid, new lid. Fingertip tight, and another jar done. So I'm going to fill up the rest of them, and I'll show you when we're putting them in the canner. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but can you see the difference already in the color using the zinc? This one is ready for the canner. I put the zinc tablets in it with hot water. Look at the vibrant green it is already. These ones I haven't added the water or anything, and they're just like the normal green bean color. The color already is such a difference. Maybe the lighting in here isn't really showing it, but it's amazing. I hope they come out of the canner like that. Okay, I filled all my jars. My water's hot in the jar, in the canner. I couldn't put anything on that burner because I just had that burner on, so isn't that beautiful? Oh, wonderful. So now I have to line up my arrows here. Where are my arrows? Why isn't it closing? Oof, there we go. Turn it up. And when I get a steady stream of steam, I'll say that slowly, I'll set my timer for 10 minutes, and then I'll put on my, no, when I get, oh my gosh, I'm so confused now because I've never done it with the pressure. So let me see. I let that go for, when I get a steady stream, for 10 minutes. Then I put the jiggler on, and when it gets up to pressure at 10 pounds, then I start my timer for 25 minutes because I'm doing quarts. Because I'm used to having to listen for the bell thing. Okay, that's it. Let it come up, 10 minutes steam, put my jiggler on, bring this up to 10 pounds of pressure, then I start my timer. There we go. I think I've got it now. And believe it or not, this isn't the first time I've canned. I'm a pro. Anyway, I'm trying to teach an old dog new tricks. See you in a bit. All right, I have my steady stream of steam. I don't know if you can see it, but it's there. So I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Oh, and my kettle's ready. So see you in 10 minutes. Okay, the 10 minutes are up. I'm going to put my jiggler on. Now I wait until my gauge goes to 10 pounds of pressure, and I'll set my timer for 25 minutes. Okay, I'm at the 10 pounds, so I'm going to set my timer for 25 minutes, and I'm curious to see if the sweet spot that I thought on my stove for the jiggler on my old canner is going to be the same for this canner. If my listening for that, 1 to 3 times per minute thing was the same as this. I know it'll vary a bit because of the canner, but we'll see how it goes. So already I'm noticing a significant difference. I'm at like about 11 or 12 pounds. And when I would use my old canner, just listening to the jiggling sound, I would usually keep it at medium. And I'm halfway right now between medium and low. So either it's the canner or I was pressuring at a too high of a temperature just by listening to how many times the jiggler would go per minute. And even by moving it down, the dial isn't moving much. So I guess it's a learning curve. And boy, is it ever quiet not listening to the jiggler go off all the time. Okay, time is up. And I ended up keeping the burner closer to low than to medium. And you can see it's just over the 10 pounds of pressure. So that was interesting because I usually keep it more to the medium. So I'm going to let this sit until the doohickey thing here goes back down. And that's going to take a while. And then I let it always sit even longer than that. And when that thing's down, then I will take off the jiggly thing, like my technical terms. Then I will open the lid and let it sit even longer, and then I'll remove the jars. So I'll see you in a bit. Big bowl of zucchinis I was telling you about earlier. I don't know how many are in there, but quite a few. And we've already eaten quite a few, and I've preserved a few. And I always do the same recipes every year with them, and I'm going to show you one of them very soon because it's so good and I've never seen it anywhere else. So I'll be sharing that with you in the next few days. And there we go, all done. And the canner lid came off much easier now, so I guess I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I'd say the beans retained their color pretty good. Maybe not quite as vibrant as when I first put the hot water in with the zinc tablet, but much greener and brighter than when you would typically can green beans. As they turn that dark faded color. There. So the jar that's on the very left is one that hasn't been canned yet. It's going in the canner now. And it is the same color as the ones I took out of the canner. So they are a vibrant green. I thought the colors varied a bit, but they really brought out the color. Like, I find it amazing. And I guess you get a bit of an extra vitamin in your green beans. So I'm pretty pleased with it. Like I said, I usually dry can my beans, but this may be the way I might go from now. So that was extra fun. I got to use my new canner, and I got really green beans. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that. And I'm really glad that the lid of the canner opened so easy. That concerned me. So I'm very happy with that. I ended up filling 5 more quarts. So from today's beans, I got a total of 12 quarts, and that's really, really good. Thought it would be more, but I guess when they're all cut up and you squish them in the jar, that's all you get. And I'm very grateful for that. So that's a good day's work. I still have stuff in the dehydrator, and I'll deal with that later. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. And until we're together again, take care.